All right. In 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome to the second episode of Masks and Tights, where I was told I did the intro wrong last week. So I'm going to try it again this week. All right, Stugots, let me know if I get it right. Okay?
It's got to be big.
Big. All right, here we go. And standing 7'4", weighing 575 pounds, the eighth wonder of the world, Masks and Tights, with your hosts, Jon and Stugots. Did I get it right? Better. All right, better. I think it might need some more work, but we're getting there. So this week, HBO released its Andre the Giant documentary, and we were there to watch it. So
now that I think about it, the intro kind of fits for what we're going to be talking about, but you need some work on that.
All right, we need some work on that. Yeah. All right. So what did you think of the documentary?
It was very interesting. I didn't learn much about Andre the Giant that I didn't already know from the books that I've read or stories that I've heard over the years or podcasts that I've listened to where they talk about him. The footage of him at his family's farm in France was definitely stuff I've never seen. I've never seen anyone from his family or what they look like. I saw his daughter once in a backstage photo recently, like with Natalie Neidhart. I want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. But it was just interesting stuff to see, no matter what, because I'm a fan of his. But it was well done, and it was HBO. It wasn't like some fly-by-night company doing it.
Yeah, I mean HBO has a string of great documentaries. They have the 30 by 30s, is that ESPN 30 for 30? I don't know.
That's ESPN.
Okay, but HBO did have a series, and I don't remember what it's called then, where they were doing sports documentaries for a while.
Yes. They did real sports with Brian Gumbel, which kind of was like expose type stuff. You just leave it. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Use a different.
Yeah. Again, I don't watch a lot of sports stuff, and I openly admit that, so I confuse it all.
I find documentaries about sports more enjoyable than sports.
Oh, I agree. I could sit and watch documentaries about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I love Muhammad Ali. I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan.
Oh, so am I. And I'm not even a big boxing fan.
No.
Yeah, but there's so many I like sports. I like documentaries about personalities. So regardless of what they did, Jackie Robinson, and I'm just going to blank as I try to think of names that were great sports documentaries. Obviously, I watch wrestling ones because I enjoy wrestling. Like Andre's. Again, I had never seen any of that early footage of Andre. I haven't read any biographies on Andre, so I didn't have that perspective. I did know a lot about his WWE era personality between just watching back then, hearing stories, reading stories, podcasts, like Bruce Pritchard's podcast.
Yeah, Bruce Pritchard definitely paints a different picture of Andre the Giant.
But it's one. I think it was that he painted a different picture. He just showed a different side of the same picture. Because I don't think they were going to go into the details of Andre going to the bathroom.
No, I mean they did. They talk about how on the plane he'd have to defecate and urinate in a bucket.
Yeah,
in that little area, like when you walk in.
But a lot of it was the same.
He ran Big John Studd out of the WWE. In the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, Big John Studd, from the stories that Bruce Pritchard tells, Big John Studd was right on that cusp of getting a big babyface push when the company needed big baby faces, and Andre kind of prevented that.
Oh yeah, I mean they kind of glossed over things like that. They did mention he hated Big John Studd, and he hated big wrestlers.
But the other side of that, though, was Vince McMahon saying, well, Big John Studd was disrespectful. He'd step over the top rope. Well, he's a heel, drawing heat. So that's what he's going to do. Are you going to say that you told him to not do that as his boss? Hey, don't step over those top ropes. Andre's finding it disrespectful. Don't do that. Was that conversation something that took place? Or was Big John Studd just a heel, just doing heelish shit, and Andre didn't like it?
I think part of it is just that he's a big guy, and how else is a big guy going to get into the ring?
When you're 6'10", you're not going under that top rope and stepping over. You're stepping over that top rope. You're 6'10".
I mean, Kevin Hall did the same.
Nash.
Hall did the same. Nash.
Yeah.
I confused the two, and I realized it and stuttered it. Yeah, but Kevin Hall did the same thing.
Yeah, Kevin Nash did too.
Kevin Nash. Oh God! So I did it again.
Even after you corrected yourself, you still did it a third time. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So Hall was a big guy who would step over the ropes too. There, I got it right.
He could if he wanted to. I mean, Scott Hall could.
Scott Hall could, yes. As I confused it.
But Kevin Nash did.
Yeah.
But when you're like a bigger guy, like 6'10", 6'11", the best way to project that you're even taller, that you're a bigger deal, is to step over that top rope.
Yeah, and I mean, doesn't Braun Strowman do it too? And whatever.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, so it's just like you expect, big guys to act like big guys.
Yeah.
But Andre was like, no, that's my moves. Those, and nobody else gets to do that but me.
So I can see Andre being mad about that. But Vince McMahon saying, well, Big John Studd was wrong and disrespectful. No, dude, did you tell him to not do that?
Yeah, of course he didn't. And Andre was...
because he's a heel.
But Andre was also, the main event. So
right.
Vince looked on him very fondly and very much made him, the center of attention. And if that's what, Vince wants, well, what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to stop the boss.
No.
So, he gave in to what he thought Andre wanted because he was also respectful because he worked for his father. And Vincent K. McMahon has a very high opinion of Vincent J. McMahon, as has been stated elsewhere. So it's going to happen. But I didn't know he hated Randy Savage.
And the Iron Sheik. Which is kind of weird because Iron Sheik was like a real deal guy. I mean, he was a legit strongman. He was an Olympic gold medalist for strength and for wrestling. I thought Andre would have been cool with him. Andre was not a fan of anyone who annoyed him. And,
pretty much.
Has been documented, well documented. Randy Savage was a perfectionist and would obsess about every single step taken in a match. And Andre was more like, leave me alone, I'm drinking and playing cards. We'll figure it out when we get out there.
Yeah, he liked to play it loose in the ring. It was nice to hear Lawler say really nice things about him.
Yeah.
Because, it's one thing to read it, but to have Lawler say, like, Andre would sell for you no matter what you did.
You just knew you weren't winning.
Yeah, and as long you just knew you weren't going to win.
That's fine.
But Andre would make you look strong. So you could play off that for, the next 6 months in your local territory because Andre gave you the nod.
Yeah.
And Andre made you look strong. And then this giant just kind of turned and took you out in 2 seconds. But he was the giant, and you faced a giant and survived.
I watched a Andre the Giant Roddy Piper match the other night, and total squash. Piper got in no offense. At one point, Andre just has Piper's leather belt that he would wear around his kilt, and he's just whipping with it from pretty much across the ring, and there's no place for Piper to hide at all. And I don't know if Andre just didn't want to make Piper look good, or if it was just, hey, we have to make Piper look like a real chicken shit heel. Piper ended up like walking out of the match and was just like, I'll just take a 10 count. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they didn't really mention Piper at all in there.
No.
So, it could be that Piper was on the list of people he didn't like. Although he did appear on Piper's Pit for the big Hogan match for WrestleMania 3.
Yes.
So who knows? But yeah, if Andre didn't like you, you weren't getting a good match.
Yeah.
He was. You weren't. But it was great. You know, he's just somebody who he liked to laugh. He liked to have a good time while he was in like constant pain. And that's what we really learned about in this documentary. And hearing, you know, come out of the words of the mouths of some of these people, from everybody from like Rob Reiner and the cast of The Princess Bride, to Hulk Hogan, to Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah, but see, for me, that's all stuff I knew.
But sometimes it's just cool to see who's telling the story.
I mean, except for Rob Reiner, I've heard Billy Crystal speak about Andre the Giant many times over the years. And who was the other dude from Princess Bride? The one who played
Carrie Elways.
No. The dude who played the swordsman.
The Dread Pirate Roberts was Carrie Elways.
No. The other.
You mean like Inigo Montoya?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I can totally picture him, and I'm gonna blank on his name, aren't I?
He was on Chicago Hope.
He's on whatchamacallit, the show on Showtime now.
I'm looking it up.
I know it's gonna bother me if I don't.
Only because Mandy Patinkin. I got it before it loaded. That's a win for me. I feel good when I can figure something out before Google pulls it up. I feel like I won today. He spoke about Andre many times over the years. So I've never heard Rob Reiner say anything about it. So that was always cool because Rob Reiner is a guy I like. So seeing him talk about Andre drinking and how they worked out those scenes with the cables and whatnot, to me that was interesting for sure.
Couldn't ride the horse; he was too drunk.
Yeah,
and I don't even know if the horse could take that much weight.
No, even a Clydesdale wouldn't be able to take that much weight concentrated like that on its back. It can pull that much weight, but it can't have it sitting on it.
And then, Robin Wright also talking about the scenes she had with him. It was cool. I've never heard her talking.
I heard her say that same footage was all, I think, from a Princess Bride documentary.
Oh, was it? I don't know if I ever saw
all the same stuff, except for the Rob Reiner. For me, anyway.
That's possible. But it was just cool to see it. Regardless, everybody talking like how much they loved Andre. Like nobody was being negative about Andre.
No. I wish they would have gotten some interview with time with Haku, who was Andre's tag team partner for that last year of Andre's career. Because Haku has, over the years, gave out some great stories as to why they were put together in the ring and outside the ring, and how he had no problem helping Tim White, who was Andre's handler, just get Andre, from point A to point B, and he knew, and he's a very respectful man, Haku. If you ever hear, well, I guess you can't listen to it now. He was on the Ric Flair's podcast about 2 years ago, and he had such respect for those guys at the top of the card who made everyone else money that Ric Flair's wife got stuck at an airport one night, and he was there, and he pretty much sat and protected her all night like a watchdog just to make sure nothing happened to Ric Flair's wife. And because he, in his mind, like that's pretty much the boss's wife because Ric Flair's at the top, and whenever Ric Flair goes, people come out and we sell out arenas and I make money. I'm going to protect, his wife. And he was the same way with Andre. Oh,
that's cool. Yeah, it was cool to hear Tim White in there.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that he was Andre's handler. I didn't know the guy's name. I knew he had one.
But it was cool. Like, this is what it was like to travel with Andre, and it's just, again, cool to hear the people who were there to tell their stories. And to watch that, even though you've heard some of these before from other people, although, and then Tim White telling the story of like what happened was when he went backstage the first time, and walked into the locker room. Get out!
Get out!
But I work here. I'm with you guys.
No.
Yeah, there were no impersonations, which was kind of disappointing.
Hogan was doing
That's
one.
Right. He did one. At one point.
Slam!
So, brother, how you want to end this match?
Oh, yeah, he did his Randy Savage impersonation.
Yeah, he did it against the Andre one, which was great.
No baby oil!
Get out! Oh, yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like you never see that side of Hogan either.
No.
So it was cool to see him talking about Andre, and he obviously like had admiration for Andre.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because usually you think of Hogan as being about Hogan. So for him to be
Always.
open
It's
about
the Hogan show.
exactly. So for him to put over Andre like that,
Yeah.
is really he must really have admiration for Andre. But it was cool. Also, I'd never heard the stories of Hogan watching Andre wrestle when he was in like junior high school.
Yeah.
And I have never heard that before.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever heard that either.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, we've been wrestling fans for 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
40 years, whatever. But
oh my God, I'd have to say 35.
It's probably about
So
what it is.
44. I was 8 or 9, I guess, when I first started watching wrestling.
Yeah, 83, 84, probably. So for me, so yeah, probably about 8 or 9. Also,
the thing that I felt the documentary really hammered home was how uncomfortable it is for someone who's big to travel at all. I mean, I'm a big dude. I know I'm like height wise, I'm 5'10", but I'm broad shouldered. I'm 275 pounds. I take up space, and I am very cognizant of it when I'm in a crowded area, just how much space I take up and need. Like my arm movements are all big arm movements, and to sit on a plane for any amount of time is painful for me. I get up, my knees hurt. My back definitely hurts. The back of my neck hurts from sitting on an airplane for too long. So I can't imagine how someone who's 7'4",
575 pounds,
struggles, with that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like they showed pictures of him taking up 2 seats in the airplane.
Yeah, and it's not like that even looked uncomfortable. He had room, but it's like he's sitting on the hump in between the 2 seats. Like that's not comfortable.
And the
like,
ceiling
they couldn't even put like some blankets down for him to sit on.
And the ceiling was like causing him to bend his head a little bit. Like he couldn't get comfortable no matter what he wanted to do there.
And they were first class seats. It's not like he was trying to sit coach.
And even so, the seats like they are now, that's not what they were back then. Like
I think the seats were better then. I think they were bigger.
Well, but now in first class and international flights, you can get like those lay down seats, and you get like a little cabin area.
Yeah.
So for those kinds of flights, but for those, no, it was just what we consider kind of like economy now.
Yeah,
you just had a little more leg room. Like they didn't have a huge difference. They were bigger seats, but they weren't like what you can kind of get now.
No.
Like a private cab. Some of these flights have private cabins and shit.
But it's only because I haven't been in first class internationally in a long time. But those seats that like make that little bed area, aren't they like barriers? He wouldn't have been able to width-wise get in.
He might not be able to. You're right. I don't know. It depends, I guess, on the flight and how it's set up, but I can't imagine he'd be comfortable no matter what.
Like he would need a cargo plane. Really, just so he can get up, he can walk around a little bit while in the air, and then still sit down. And you could you could make it where it's more comfortable today, I think. Well,
we also live in a world where the WWE owns a private jet.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It could just be like you're going to sit in a private jet, and we'll remove these 2 seats and put something there.
I think that's more likely that Andre would have had a plane, or Andre would have the WWE plane,
or he would, like they do for Brock Lesnar. They charter a private plane.
Exactly.
To get him from Canada to wherever they need to get him to today.
And Andre made more money than Brock.
Than
really any of the top 5 guys combined.
Yeah.
I mean, merchandise isn't what it is, or merchandise isn't what it was then. Like it wasn't what it is now.
Yeah. I had an Andre the Giant shirt back in the 80s with the big hand on it.
Exactly. Yeah, there were a couple shirts and like the LJN dolls that were like big.
I had those too.
But like that was it for merchandise. Yeah. Now, Andre is a legend, and still they occasionally put out Andre merchandise. But like if he was like the way John Cena gets merchandise now,
forget it.
Yeah.
Well, Andre is one of those rare guys that has a WWE merchandise deal, and he has a Roots of Fight merchandise deal.
Oh, really?
Yes. And usually WWE, everything's exclusive.
Well, yeah. I mean, because they design it all in-house and sell it their way. But Andre selling tickets, nobody sold tickets like Andre.
Yeah.
Except maybe Hogan. And even they kind of said, like, Hogan was the second Andre.
Definitely.
So, there's really no comparison to what Andre was back in the day. Like, he was a feature.
1 minute. No, not you 1 minute. Just 1 minute.
I know.
For the microwave.
Which we can now hear humming in the background.
Yes.
But like if Andre wrestled in this era, I think he'd still be the top guy. And he'd be selling the most merchandise. He'd be
the only problem is in today's climate, it's really today's industry, it's really easy for a guy to be overexposed. There's so much television and arena appearances that it's like you would have to leave him off a tour for 2 or 3 months and then start him again. Or it's like you'd put him on the SmackDown brand house show tours and then put him on the Raw house show tours. This way, the other parts of the country are seeing him at different times, and you build a little longevity in between house shows. But TV and pay-per-view, I think, would kill it.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, even they were saying like they would take him off for long stretches because then it's like otherwise, what's the point? It's you want to see him destroy people.
He was able to be off of WWE TV at that time for a stretch because he could then be on Crockett's TV or in Memphis's TV, or he could be out in Texas at World Class Championship Wrestling's TV. And different parts of the country were seeing him, and then they would get that break of not having to see him for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. And I mean, the documentary did spend a little bit of time at the beginning giving a good explanation of how the regional wrestling worked back then. Because really everything was regional until the early 80s when Vincent K. McMahon bought WWF from his father and started at the advent of cable television and building a national brand. And WWF at the time, was the first national wrestling brand. And it didn't immediately affect all of the regionals. So even so, they could lend him out and do things in other regions. But they did a good job explaining also how Vincent J. McMahon was sending Andre around the country to the
he became the exclusive for Andre. And then it was like he was lending Andre to you to give you a bump in ticket sales.
Exactly.
For a little bit.
He was the Godfather.
Yeah, he was.
He liked you, and you got that bump in sales when Andre showed up. Like they did a good job explaining that.
And I thought they did a really good job explaining the whole regional territories, how it all worked back in the day. Yeah, like, it wasn't insulting at all to wrestling or wrestling fans. It was very much done intelligently and spoke to you as a fan intelligently.
Yes, but it also had to kind of bring in the people who don't know these things.
Yeah.
It's easy for you and I who, we've read the websites and read all the history and everything.
But it wasn't dumbed down at all.
No.
It was just explained thoroughly.
And I like how when they were explaining it, they left the Northeast out of it. So that when they finally explained, Vincent and, Andre's deal and everything, that's when they introduced, the WWF at the time. So it was really well done, and I'd say I learned a few things from the documentary. Just, hey, we got to see his brothers who are still alive.
Yes.
Find out what his early life was like, which a lot of even biographies kind of don't have, because not too many people talk about that period of his life because they weren't there. And Hogan telling his stories were fairly entertaining.
No, just get another one.
Get
two. You'll hear it.
Get 2 of them.
I just went through this with Cody 10 minutes ago. Yes, it's okay. Just trust me.
The joys of recording in Stugots' kitchen.
Yes.
Home of the Eat Up Show.
Yes, Casa de Stugots.
So, So would you recommend this documentary to other people?
Oh, definitely. If whether you're a wrestling fan or not, it's something that should be seen.
Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously for wrestling fans, it's great. It's just seeing all these people like just showing their love for Andre and telling stories. And for non-wrestler fans, it's a way to kind of help bring them into understanding our fandom, because it gives a good backstory of how wrestling worked at the time, from the 60s and 70s to mid 80s, even I'd say it even to like 1990, because that's really when things started to change again.
Yeah.
But they could see how things worked, how Andre was just a force of nature. And God, I want to go back and watch old Andre matches now. That's really what it made.
Well, on the WWE Network, there is the Andre the Giant collection, which I highly recommend.
All right, then I have to ask you, what is the best match in the collection?
Wow. I mean, I did watch a bunch of them the other night. There was one match with Andre, Dusty Rhodes, and Junkyard Dog versus Ernie Ladd and the Wild Samoans. And that was from the St. Pete Forum over in St. Petersburg, Florida, for Florida Championship Wrestling. That was a good one. The match with him and Piper was entertaining because it was right on the heels of him being on Piper's Pit right after WrestleMania 1, when Piper's just all in his face saying, Big John Studd said he slammed you. And
don't you know?
And he just grabs him by the shirt, and Piper looks legit scared because he backs himself up out of the shirt, and Andre was not letting go of the shirt. So that's definitely worth seeing. I don't think there's a Roddy Piper collection on the network. There should be, because those Piper's Pits alone were awesome. I used to have a VHS tape back in the tape trader days that were all Piper's Pits, and it was like 2.5 hours of nothing but Piper's Pit clips.
And now nobody owns a VCR, so we can't watch them.
Yeah, I know, but but now we have the internet, and it's like I'm sure there is a collection like that on YouTube.
I'm sure. We've talked about that on our Geekodrome show a long time ago, how things are not rare anymore.
No, everything's common.
Everything's on the internet, and you can have it with the click of a button. So we're not going to retread that whole conversation now. But that 6-man match was definitely worth watching, because it was if Andre does some moves in there that you wouldn't expect him to do, so it was entertaining. Yeah, that's something I thought was interesting. How he was considered a more athletic wrestler in his early days when he started wrestling in France, and then he kept getting bigger and couldn't really do them anymore.
Well, there's one match with Mr. Fuji. Andre does a splash off the middle turnbuckle.
Really?
And it's like
awesome.
That's pretty. I mean, and Andre didn't wear knee pads, so he's coming down hard on those knees. I seen another clip where he did a tombstone pile driver, which was made famous by the Undertaker.
Yeah,
and Andre did it the same way, where he went up like on his tippy toes and then crashed down again on his knees. That he did not wear knee braces.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a man who was willing to, put his body through that shit when it was doing that to itself.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what are you going to do? He really was one of the greats. He deserves to be considered a legend. And then we can't forget, his Titanic matches at WrestleMania against Hogan.
No, that WrestleMania 3 match was just unbelievable.
It is. Yeah.
I know it's not a great match. I know it's only about 10 minutes long, but it was symbolic, and that's what makes it great. The other thing that is on that collection is the main event match with Hogan and Andre, where Andre finally defeats Hulk Hogan for the world title.
So is that the only time Andre ever held the world title then?
Yes. Yes.
So was anyone ever able to beat him to get the title off Andre?
Well, he surrenders it to Ted DiBiase.
Oh, that's right, because he was on the DiBiase payroll.
Yes, and that's what sets up the WrestleMania 4 Undisputed Championship tournament.
I had forgotten about that. Yes. I was going to say, as explained in the documentary, they never put the title on Andre until then, because how do you get it off?
Yeah.
He's a monster.
Once he loses, that's it. The mystique's gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's really what happened to Goldberg.
Yes.
He won for like 150 weeks in a row,
Yep.
and then he's got the title, and it's like, well, now what do we do?
Now what? Yeah.
They finally beat him, and then everybody was bored of him. There's no streak anymore.
Nope.
Although there were those of us who were bored of him after like 10 weeks.
I was bored of him after the third week.
Yeah, it was cute in the beginning, but it's like, as Bruce Pritchard says, and then what?
Yeah. And then what do you do?
Well, I got an idea.
Well, that's why I'm curious to see how they handle Asuka's loss, because it was the only thing about her was the streak, and now I'd like to see where how they have her handle it in character and in the ring.
Well, but the thing that she has that Goldberg didn't
His ability.
Yeah,
She could go.
Yeah, like I don't want. Yeah, her character's about the streak, but when the bell rings, she tells a great story in the ring.
Oh, definitely.
And really knows how to work the ring. That's why the match against Charlotte for the belt was a great match. It was two women who really know how to work the ring and really told a story in the ring.
Except for when Charlotte botched and almost killed herself trying to do that top rope move.
Well, there was that too, sure. But that aside,
I get so angry when I see it because there's a match that she had with Sasha Banks and she did a moonsault to the floor, the arena floor, and Sasha had to move, step in a good 6 to 8 feet to catch her. Like 6 to 8 feet's a big difference. You're far off the mark. Yeah. Like if you can't do that stuff, don't. There's no shame in not being able to do it. You're going to hurt yourself or someone else. Don't do that.
That's not to say we wouldn't love to have Charlotte on the program to talk about wrestling at some point and being part of a wrestling.
And I would lecture her and tell her, don't do that. I'm sitting here watching, being scared for you.
If you're watching this or listening to this and you know Charlotte Flair, please invite her to be on the show to talk to Stugots about moonsaults and top rope maneuvers.
Some of us love you so much that we don't want to see you get hurt.
And as the documentary built to WrestleMania 3, it really was the pinnacle of his career, selling out the Pontiac Superdome?
Detroit,
yes.
Michigan.
Thank you. I think that really there's nothing else to top that or to go after that.
No.
It was really the decline after that.
He had a feud with Jake Roberts after that, and then the Ultimate Warrior and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That was, again, he was putting those guys over and helping to build them up. And then he did the tag team with Haku, and they won the world titles, the tag team titles.
Yeah, and even though, most of that was glossed over at the end of the documentary.
Yeah.
It was, he felt Vince let him down in the end.
Yep.
And perhaps Vince did.
I didn't know. That was actually pretty sad.
Yeah. But I think Andre took a lot of things personally, one of the things I took away from the documentary that you don't necessarily get from reading books on Andre. And it's heartbreaking to find out that's how he felt. But, he did have his people and people who did, come to become his surrogate family who loved him. That he had that farm in North Carolina, was it?
Yep, right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
So, yeah. So, at least he had, people around him that were part of his life.
And those people really seemed like they still care about him.
Yeah. Like, it was great. I had never seen any of them interviewed either.
No,
great,
not at all.
It's great hearing them reminisce and show home movies of Andre on the farm. I don't know if I've ever seen any of that before either.
I seen a bunch of footage of him on the three-wheelers.
But
that's about it.
But it was just him hanging out with the family. And
that was pretty cool to see.
That was great. So Andre really was a legend, deserving of this legacy, where they do documentaries about him every 5 to 10 years. And kind of just bringing him to the forefront for not just wrestling fans, but for just, sports fans in general.
There was that one dude at the end. He said, just like Daniel Boone was a real person, William Wallace was a real person, Vlad the Impaler was a real person that we've made into this larger-than-life characters. That's what Andre the giant was and has become. He was a real man. He was real. He lived. And there is this lore and mythology about him that will be talked about forever.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest advantages that he wrestled before the internet. Like, I don't think a character like that can exist now.
No.
We don't have myths like that anymore. Mythological.
Yeah. I mean, in life, like in general, or just wrestling wise? Cut it out.
I'll cut it out.
All right, leave him.
I mean, really both. Like, there's nobody who's going to have a mythological legacy at this point. I mean, maybe in politics, but beyond that, I can't think of anybody.
I know. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. It's something we'd have to maybe discuss on Geekodrome one episode.
Or we'll just wait 10 years and see if anybody becomes mythological.
I'll be dead by then.
I was hoping for like Geekodrome episode like 1000 for us to talk about it on.
Oh God, we can't go on that far.
I'd like to welcome my new co-host, the robot automaton version of Stugots. You know.
I am Stugots, Queso Dicha Paisans. Welcome to Geekodrome. Ming.
So if you want to hear more from Robot Stugots, tune in to Geekodrome. We're live Monday nights usually, and then you can subscribe on the iTunes, Google Play, and everything else. If you want to hear more of our fun wrestling talk, subscribe to Mass and Tights on iTunes or SoundCloud. We'll be up on everything else soon. It's just we're getting everything ramped up, and we're still live.
In beta.
We're still in beta, perpetual beta, and we record live Monday nights after Geekodrome on the same YouTube channel. So tune in, join us, and we'll catch you next times. Yeah, we don't have a good outro like Too Sweet for the show yet. We need to work on that.
Yes.
So, catch you later, Bill and Ted.
See ya.